Hola, hola, hola. Hello, 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 my beautiful planner babe divas. Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl here, Daniela, la planning diva. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me here today. I really appreciate it. And Merry Vlogmas Day 21. I always tell myself that I'm going to figure out the day that we're on before the video, so that way there's not a huge pause between me saying welcome to this channel and Merry Vlogmas, because I literally have to edit out like a minute of me just kind of thinking through where we are right now in Vlogmas. It's day 21 and I'm very excited because today I'm gonna be talking about my TBR, my to be read pile. I really want to bring like more of my other interests into my channel. That was one lesson that I learned from doing makeup, having a makeup and a project panning channel for a few years, was I really got into my head about doing other content besides makeup and project panning. I felt like no one wanted to see any other part of my life. I toyed around a lot with the idea of making another channel for my book interests, doing a booktube channel. But honestly, if I split myself up into all of the areas in my life that I'm interested in, I'm gonna have like 30 channels, which is why I have so many planners. I would have a paper crafting planning channel, a gardening channel, a beauty channel, a booktube channel, a fitness channel. Too much, way too much. So I'm just gonna throw everything onto this one channel. It is who I am as a person, and I hope you enjoy. So you're definitely going to see a lot more book content from me in 2025. 2025 is the year of rest and hobbies for me, and I am so excited to dig into these books. So these are the books that I'm thinking of reading in the near future. So I have my entire library here behind me. I'm in my bedroom and this is my little altar and bookcase setup. All the books I own are on this shelf and then on another shelf that's right next to it. Although the bookcase that you can't see right now, let me see if I can actually show you. I have that shelf as well. Although that black shelf is all of my like witchy books and my natural history guides as well, my like hiking books. But all of my like actual reading books are on this shelf right here. I mean, the witchy books I can also read, but they're more like references and textbooks than they are like actual, like read front to cover type of book. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I thought it would be fun to share with you my TBR and the books that I'm hoping to focus on in the next 2-3 months or so. So let's talk about it. So these are the books I'm focusing on that I'm hoping to read in the next 2 months. First off, let's talk about the book that I have been reading for probably well over a year now. This is Roberto Bolaños' Los Detectives Salvajes, and it is in Spanish. I would say this is kind of like a magical realism book. It's about the eccentric romantic lives of Mexican City poets in the 1970s, 1980s. And it's essentially a series of vignettes or short stories. And they're pretty chaotic, but each vignette is very interesting and cool. I personally really enjoy it. I love reading about the bohemian lifestyle, the artist's life. And I am on my way to finishing this. This is, let's see, 600 pages. I'm on page 437. I took a lot of notes while I was reading it. I thoroughly enjoy this book, but it's taking me a long time to finish. Not only was 2024 extremely busy for me, I didn't read a lot in 2024, but also it's in Spanish and I don't read in Spanish very often. I wanted to read it in Spanish though because it is originally written in Spanish, and it's a good way for me to practice my Spanish and keep up with it, learn new words in Spanish, and so on. So it's been slow go. I actually have the English version on the Kindle, and when I don't understand a phrase or a word, I'll like check it on the Kindle. So I'm essentially reading both at the same time. And actually, this book, I chose this book for a book club that I'm in with my with Stephen, with my sister and her wife, my sister-in-law. And we have a little book club going, and I chose this book last year, and then I like we didn't have a book club meeting for like a year because I just never finished it, and I still have not finished it. We eventually moved on. We're like, okay, let's move on. And we moved on to the next book without talking about this book, and I still haven't finished it. So now we're reading another book, which actually I already finished the new book that we're reading in our book club. It was a short English book, so it was very quick for me to read. But they were so mad at me for taking so long to like work my way through this. I do plan on finishing it, you know, within the next month, and then we'll have our book club meeting. But I thoroughly enjoy this so far. It's really, really good. I'm the only one out of our little book club that likes this book. So hoping to finish that soon. I also have my Kindle here. Well, not my Kindle, it's Steven's Kindle, but I have Steven's Kindle here because I stole it from him. But not only am I using this to reference the English translation of Los Detectives Salvajes, but I'm also hoping to read another book on here, which is a book for my other book club that I'm in, the Pan Dulce Society Book Club with Amy and Max. Hi, Amy, if you're watching. Amy invited me to join a book club with her. We called it the Pan Dulce Society Book Club. And we've been reading some good books over there, which reminds me, if you're interested in joining a little Zoom book club, we meet roughly once a month and rotate book choices, let me know. Feel free to reach out and yeah, sign up. It's lots of fun. And we also chat a little bit about planners once in a while. So we actually just started a trilogy for this book club. We just finished the first book, which was called Dark Choices by Kay Boozer. And it's essentially a smutty romance. It was a fun book, very entertaining. Not my favorite, though. I didn't really like her writing style too much. And the plot itself wasn't super interesting to me, but it was fun. It's always fun to read a smutty romance. So we read that, and now we're reading the second book in the trilogy. I believe it's called Dark Truths or Dark Consequences. They all start with dark. I'll pop a picture on the screen of the book that we're reading, and it's essentially another story in that same universe. It's a string of smutty romances centered around like a mafia family in Florida. They get into a lot of shenanigans, and yeah, they're fun books. So I haven't started that, but I'm going to download it on the Kindle because I believe they only have Kindle or physical books. They don't have audiobooks yet. So that's another book that I'm going to be reading in the near future. Okay, now I have a series of physical books because I prefer physical books. I don't prefer on the Kindle. If I can't have the physical book, I'll listen to it on Audible. Although I just canceled my Audible, so I'll probably try to like find it at a library or something like that, like the audio version. My last choice is the Kindle. The Kindle is very convenient, but I love a physical book in my hand. So the rest of the books I have here are physical books. A book I'm hoping to finish in 2025 is the collected poems of Sylvia Plath. This is a little anthology I got a long time ago, and it's been sitting on my bookshelf forever, and I haven't really gotten into it. I started reading last year. I read like a poem every once in a while, but I really want to focus on this. I want to make like an effort to read a few poems every day, maybe before bed, just reach for it. I have like a pile of books next to my bed that I'm trying to be better about not being on my phone before bed, but reading a book instead. So maybe just reading a few poems every night and getting through this anthology. I remember really, really loving Sylvia Plath when I was in high school, and I still really like some of her most like renowned poems. But as I'm reading through her poetry, especially her earlier poetry, I'm not a huge fan as I once was in high school. Maybe I just have to wait until I get to, you know, like her peak poetry era in the 1960s. Right now, I think I'm reading like 1950 poetry from her, and I think it definitely feels like, you know, young. It feels like she's still maturing, but it's cool to see kind of the evolution of her poetry throughout the years. But yeah, I want to finish this in 2025. Next, I have Heretics of Dune. And actually, I also need to grab the other one. Okay, I have two books, Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune by Frank Herbert. So book 4 and 5 in the iconic Dune series. I read Dune, the first book, a few years ago, before the movies came out, or the updated movies. And I loved it. It was fantastic. I freaking adored that book. Definitely, you know, it lives up to the hype. And then a year passed and I read Dune Messiah, which is the second book in the series, and it was okay. It was definitely a bit of a disappointment. I had a lot of expectations, you know, coming from the first Dune book. Read the second one, not that good. The third one was okay. I think it was a little bit more fully developed than the second book, but it still was just okay. It didn't really strike me as much as the first one. And then I read the fourth one, the fourth book, which was God Emperor Dune, and I did not like that one at all. I've heard people either love it or they hate it, and I was definitely in the hate camp. I felt like it was lacking a lot of plot. There was just a lot of internal monologue going on, and it was repetitive and redundant in a lot of ways, and I was just not a fan of it. And so I have been putting off finishing the series because I had such a bad perception of God Emperor Dune, but I am a completionist. I want to finish the series. I have these two books sitting on my shelf. I already got rid of the other ones. I either sell my books when I'm done with them, like I wait until I have like, you know, 20 or 30 books and then I go sell them to my local bookstore, or I just donate them to Goodwill. I got rid of the other ones. I still have these two on my shelf and I want to get rid of these as well. I'm not super looking forward to them because I feel like nothing has lived up to the original Dune, but I want to finish the series. So we have book 5 and book 6 in the series, and I think Daisy wants to come in. Yep, Daisy's here with us now. Hi, baby. Oh, she's so cute. Okay, Daisy. Okay, you're stuck in my sweater. She's so cute. Okay, couple of books left here. This is a book I got relatively recently. I got it at my thrift store. This is John Berent's Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and I honestly had no idea what this was about. I've just heard the name before, and I believe there's a movie that's based off this book. And I read the back cover, and essentially what I think this is, it's like a true crime story or a mystery novel, like a detective style novel, but it's done in a very like interesting fashion. This book is set in the South. It's set in Savannah, Georgia, and I think what really makes this book stand out from what I've read online and reading reviews about this is that like the diversity of characters like represented by the society of Savannah, Georgia in that time is represented in here, and there's just a lot of eccentric characters, a lot of colorful characters, and it really is what sets this book apart. This is actually listed as a nonfiction, so I thought it was fiction when I picked it up, but apparently it's nonfiction. But I think it's one of those stories, those true stories that is so eccentric that it reads like fiction, which is interesting. This is about 400 pages long, so not too short, not too long. And the reason I grabbed this book was it's one of the newer additions into my library. I just got this within like the last 3 months or so. And I'm trying my hardest to like read things as they come in and move them along once I'm done with them. I'm also looking to like downsize my collection and get rid of some stuff. And so I'm focusing on books that I know I'm not going to keep in my collection after I finish reading them. So I'm going to read this and then move it along. So that's why I picked this baby. The next book is a bit of a fun book. Oh my god, this is Karen Harper's The Last Ballin. This is historical fiction with a lot of romance thrown in and just like a tiny little sprinkling of like spice. And it is about the Ballin family, which is of course one of England's like royal families. The most famous Ballin being Anne Boleyn, who was married to Henry VIII and was one of his, you know, many wives. When I was a kid, I was fascinated by the Boleyn family and by like England royalty and all of that. And I read a lot of like those types of books, like the historical fiction type of books. And I remember reading this when I was a teenager and really, really enjoying it. And I was actually thinking about this book like a few weeks ago. And lo and behold, I found it in my thrift store for just like $2-3 or something like that. And I knew that I had to grab it. I had to grab it, and I want to reread it as an adult, you know, and just enjoy like a fun little historical fiction romance. This is a pretty long book. I think it's almost 600 pages. It's almost 600 pages. And again, I'm trying to like read things as they come into my library, and once I'm done with them, move them along. I doubt I will keep this book after I'm done with it. So I want to clear space, you know, clear space so that I can get more books. Okay, next book that I have here is actually, let's see, McKenzie Lee's The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. And this is a YA novel, which is different for me. I don't really read YA too much. And the reason I have this is because I actually saw it recommended on one of the booktubers YouTube channels that I watch. Oh my god, I don't remember the YouTuber's name, like their channel name. Oh, it's gonna kill me. I cannot believe I don't remember it. I know their name, like I know the YouTuber's name. It's Audrey. They have a great channel. They do all sorts of book videos, and they particularly focus on like YA and queer YA, which I love. And they're really intentional about reading queer authors, reading underrepresented authors, and just reading diversely, which I love. Daisy's doing something over there. So I actually saw that they recommended this book, McKenzie Lee's The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. And I actually don't know too much about this book, but essentially what I can tell from just reading the back cover and the reviews and stuff, it's set in like 1800s, maybe. It's set in the earlier time period. I feel like it's like 1800s England or something like that. But essentially it kind of follows the life of this young gentleman, Casanova, who loves to sleep around, and eventually I think he falls in love with his like best friend. But he also has all of his like responsibilities as, you know, the eldest son of a family, and he ends up getting into some adventures, and it's a lot of shenanigans, and it seems fun. It seems fun. I love a good romance, and it was highly recommended by Perpetual Pages. That's the name of the YouTuber, Perpetual Pages. I will link their channel in the description box down below in case you're interested in checking them out. But that's why I picked up this book. And again, trying to clear out my collection here, and probably not going to keep this book after I'm done with it. Another book that I have in my collection that I actually just got, this is a book I actually purchased from a YouTuber. So I just recently discovered Blazed and Glazed YouTube channel. She's a thrifting queen. Love her channel. It's amazing. And she just wrote a book called Second Chances, The Ultimate Guide to Thrifting, Sustainable Style, and Expressing Your Most Authentic Self. And it's all about thrifting and her adventures as a thrift queen. And I got it not just to support her channel, but also because I resonate so much with her perspectives and her philosophy when it comes to thrifting. I've always been a thrifting queen, and it started because I grew up, you know, with not a lot of money. Like, my family was not wealthy. And especially as I got older and I went through high school, I didn't have a lot of resources. I left my home like before I finished high school, and I was living at like friends' couches, and I would just like bounce around from place to place. So I was essentially homeless for a little period of time, and I really had nothing. I had no money, I had no resources, I had just like 2 little bags of things. That was my entire life. And so ever since I was young, I have been a thrifting queen. And before, it was out of necessity. It was out of necessity. That was the only thing I could afford. Nowadays, as I've developed my career, as I've worked my ass off, I definitely have money and I can buy whatever I want, new or used. but I've never been someone that has gravitated towards buying new clothes, new jewelry, that kind of thing. I think in my soul, like growing up the way I did, now I just feel like thrifting is the only way. Like it's the only way that makes sense to me, not only like economically and financially, but also in terms of sustainability and also in terms of like personal style. And it's also such a scavenger hunt. It's such an adventure to go thrifting, and you find pieces that are unique. You find vintage. There's so much more personality and character in thrifting. So anyways, I adore her YouTube channel. I've like watched so many of her videos throughout the years now. And so I really wanted to support her book. And I want to read this like front to cover and just get inspiration for thrifting and styling. I feel like right now my wardrobe is at capacity. I'm trying not to thrift anymore until like my birthday or something as a little gift to myself. But I want to now spend this time not bringing more things into my closet, but decluttering a little bit and learning how to style everything in my closet, because there's things in my closet I feel like I haven't learned how to style yet. And so I want to really know my closet in and out. I want to document it as well. I want to like write down everything that I have, so that way I know exactly what's in my wardrobe. So we have Second Chances by Macy Eleni, who is the YouTuber Blazed and Glazed. So I have that on my TBR. And the last thing that I have in my TBR is this book here. This is Death Valley in 49 by William Lewis Manley. And this was published in 1894. This is an autobiography of a pioneer detailing his life from a humble home in the Green Mountains to the gold mines of California, and particularly reciting the sufferings of the band of men, women, and children who gave Death Valley its name. And this is considered an important chapter of California pioneer history. And yeah, it's essentially the adventures of this band of pioneers who crossed Death Valley in 1849. And this book is kind of falling apart. It's really old. It's an old book. It feels very like it was printed and published, you know, at least 20-30 years ago. I actually started reading this already last year. I got to page 60. And then I just stopped and I abandoned it, and I want to finish this book in 2025. I actually found this book. It was like in one of those like free book carts in front of a bookstore, which was awesome because there's a tag on the back that says this was $30.95 at one point. So I got it for free. And yeah, I want to finish this book. I want to finish it and then go take a trip to Death Valley, which is my favorite national park of all time. I've been to Death Valley a few times now, maybe 5 times, and it is gorgeous. I have my Death Valley postcard that I'm using as a bookmark. So I think I'm going to start this book again, just start it from the very beginning and just read through it. And yeah, once I'm done, I'll go take a trip to Death Valley to celebrate. I love Death Valley so much. And that's the reason why I'm reading this book, because I really adore Death Valley. It is one of the most magical, grand, intense places I have ever been to. I'm a desert girl, love deserts. And Death Valley is definitely the queen of the deserts. Such a gorgeous place, so fascinating, so interesting. I want to go again in like late February, early March for the Star Festival. They do this annual Star Festival every year, and we went last year, which was the last time I went to Death Valley, but it kind of sucked because it was so windy that it was like impossible to really do anything there. It was so windy. Like camping was impossible, cooking was impossible. So we'll try again this coming Star Festival. So that's the last book in my TBR, Death Valley in 49. What do you think of my choices? Hopefully you'll see more videos from me about my reading journal. I actually left that downstairs, so I don't have it to show you all here, but I want to be more active in my reading journal this year. So hopefully you'll see some pages with these books in the near future. In my reading journal. And with that, I hope to see you in my next video. So until then, stay safe. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, Happy reading and happy planning. Adios.
Feliz Navidad.